Hello again. So I've been thinking, and I was up late at night last night, and I've just had a little bit of time to reflect on things, and I wanted to make this video. I have a lot of things I want to say, and yes, this is going to pertain to foster care and my time in foster care. And just here lately I feel totally compelled to talk about these things and be a little bit more open and be a little bit more bold about talking about it and sharing my experience with being in foster care and the lessons it's taught me and the things it's taught me and the things that it's done for my life. And I really just want to do this as an effort to let things go. And yeah, it's kind of like therapy for me, and there's just been things that I've been thinking about that have been kind of like keeping me up at night, giving me like dreams, and just things I feel like I need to talk about and put out there, and hopefully someone else can take them and make use of them. And yeah, that's just kind of the beauty of going through really crappy things in life, is that you can take those bad things and those ugly things and give it to someone else and let that be a light in their life somehow. And so that's what I want to do. I want to give this up and just talk about a couple things that have been on my mind here lately. So yeah. So I just recently graduated from college, and it's just kind of given me time to think and kind of reflect on things, and I'm really trying to just be like the best person that I possibly can be. And so this is again like in an effort to make that possible, and just kind of like letting go of the hurt and letting go of the ugly. And I definitely want to make more videos pertaining to this. Like, I sat up until 6 o'clock last night making lists in my phone of things I want to talk about and videos I want to make, because I just could not sleep last night. I felt driven to do this, and I also feel like I'm gonna start writing a book as well, which is an endeavor like I have no idea like where to even begin, but I think it needs to happen. So basically the whole purpose of this video is to kind of explain a hurt that I have when it comes to being in foster care, and just kind of a hurt that I carry around with me. And it's something that I just feel like will always be there. Like, as time goes on, yes, it's easy, it gets easier, but I never forget. It's still there. And just like last night, like, there are just some nights when I can't help but to think about things and to reflect on things and reflect on times when people have hurt me or done me wrong. And I'm sure that is probably true for a lot of people. I'm just not one of those people who can just... I've always been strong. Like, that was always my like thing in life. Like, I was always very strong and very mature going through like everything that I went through. Like, everybody was just like, wow, you're just so strong, you're doing so great. And that was like my identity, was just holding it in and just trying to be as strong as I can, and to just like, I guess, act like nothing bothered me and just let it go. But really, like, when you dig deep, which I think you have to do sometimes in life, yes, there are things that really hurt, and they still hurt me to this day. So I want to let them go. I don't want to be sitting up at 6 in the morning like thinking about all these things that just hurt me. So in particular with this, like, I've just kind of been feeling a little bit like hurt by certain people, and it doesn't feel good, and I want a little bit of redemption for it. And I think that's kind of a part of this video, is just to kind of let it out. In particular, there's one particular foster parent that I had that just like has kind of been on my mind lately. And the day before yesterday, I even had a dream about her, like talking to her and telling her, like, I was standing on her face. It's the weirdest thing. And I was telling her, like, even though you did this to me, I still rose above it. And it's just been on my mind, and especially with like graduating college and stuff like that. This is a foster mom that I recently got in touch with on Facebook, and I've ran into her one other time. So if you guys have watched my foster care video about all my different foster families and stuff, this is my foster mom, Tracy, and she is the one that I lived with in 7th grade, and she moved me, and I have a lot of hurt about it, because when I got to her house, I had been to a couple of other placements and we had just been moved around like so many times that by this time I knew the drill. Like I knew when I got somewhere that it wasn't permanent, and I knew to just be on guard. Like why open myself up? Like that was me being strong for myself and protecting myself. That's all I knew how to do. And so when I got to Tracy's house, I was 12, going on 13, I believe, and I was in 7th grade. And you know, when I got there, like I said, I was very closed off. I was very depressed. Like I was just so sad and so sick of like this prison sentence that I felt like I had. Like I feel like that's something I need to like get across to people, is like the kids are the ones who suffer in foster care. Like it's legit like being in prison. You like the parents don't have to go live with all these weird families and like these strangers and have to unpack their stuff and like not know what's gonna happen to them. Like the kids are really the ones being punished. It's just really hard. Like I haven't been in foster care for almost 10 years now, and it's still something that is a huge part of my identity. And you know, I feel like to fulfill my purpose in life is to talk about it and make some kind of redemption out of it. So okay, basically when I got to Tracy's house, she threatened me that she was gonna move me if I didn't start opening up to her. And that was the last thing I wanted. Like being moved was literally the last thing I wanted. I would have done anything to not get moved because that was the worst. Getting moved just meant like it was just so unknown, and even when you got moved and you went somewhere, it was like, great, like how long am I gonna be here? You just never know, and it was always temporary, so at least you knew that. So it's like, yeah, why open up to people? And again, me being just so strong, like I was not trying to be vulnerable to people. I was not gonna let that happen. I had built up such a wall like from people hurting me, and so her threatening to move me, I was like, I will do anything. I will do anything to stay here because I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to get moved. That was the worst thing. So I opened up to her and I became attached to her. And so while we were in her placement, it was me and my 2 little brothers, and then she had 3 little girls herself who were all like elementary school age. So here I was like 12, 13 years old, and she made me babysit these kids like all the time. I also had to like clean the house, the whole entire house every day. On the weekend, I had to clean the 2 bathrooms by myself, watch all these kids, do the dishes every single night, and I still, all this time, like I was so responsible. Like that was my whole thing. Like I always tried to do the right thing. I always wanted like a better life for myself. Even at this age, like I wanted to be responsible. And so I went to school, I made straight A's, I did everything right. I did everything she said, everything she asked. So in getting to know Tracy and getting close with her, I asked her one day, I was just asking her about like, you know, her previous foster kids and stuff. And I was just like, so who was your favorite like foster care placement? And this was early on, like in my stay with her. And she said Amanda. And Amanda was a girl, a teenage foster girl she had in her care. And Amanda didn't live with her because Amanda was a runaway. Amanda could not stay in one place. Like she was always running away, always getting into trouble. And I asked her why. I was like, why is she your favorite? And she just said, because she needs me. I feel like she needs me. And so, I mean, I didn't really have any thoughts about that. I was just like inquiring about her previous foster kids, like getting to know her and stuff like that. And through getting to know her, and despite everything, like, you know, I loved my placement there. I felt very comfortable there, and she made me feel comfortable there. Like, I remember her and her husband, Danny, got into a fight one night, and he was leaving. Like, he was gonna leave her. And I was crying, and I was so upset, and I was just like, are we gonna get moved? Are we gonna get moved? And she held me in her arms. She said, no. She was like laughing. She's like, no, why would I move you guys? And so I trusted her and I bonded with her. And the school I went to during this time was a really good school. Again, I made straight A's. I had really good friends. I loved all my friends at this school. Like, this was one of my favorite schools out of the 14 schools I went to. Like, for once, I felt like I was on the right track. I was like being the person I wanted to be. So Tracy kind of has like this ugly side to her. I don't know what it is, but she would get really nasty with me sometimes, and like I remember her grounding me for a couple days. I'm not really even sure like what had happened, but she had grounded me for a couple days, and like she was just being so nasty towards me, and like I don't know, like that's just kind of my like background, is like she's not a good person is basically what I'm trying to get at. So I had stayed in this placement from October. It was basically a school year, so from like October to June, and around springtime Amanda ended up getting placed back in her care. And that was cool with me. Like, I liked Amanda. She was like someone to hang out with. Like, she was fun. We would like go do stuff together, like go to the movies, go skating. Like, it was nice to have like someone around my age to kind of like hang out with. And I just had no idea that like this was gonna be the reason why we had to move, and like kind of the breaking point, because going from feeling just so like guarded and closed off to being just so vulnerable and just feeling comfortable and safe, and it just all got like swept out from underneath me. And I don't think Tracy even realizes, like, or maybe she does, I don't know, I think maybe she probably does realize she's a shitty person, which I'll get into in a minute, which is why this has like kind of been on my mind. But basically Amanda moved back in, and Tracy was getting a house built, and she had been making plans with me and my brothers, like asking us, you know, what do you want your room to be decorated like, and just making plans. And I felt comfortable and I felt safe, and she was asking me about, you know, like school and how, you know, if I'd be okay switching schools, because she knew that was important to me. So I felt like we were a part of her plan to move into this new place. So I ended up going to summer camp, and before, like the day before I go to summer camp, which was like in June sometime, she tells me when I get back from summer camp that we're gonna get moved. And I don't really remember her giving us a reason why. She just told me we're getting moved. I was devastated, but like what can I do? I mean, I don't even remember like the conversation we had, but it was like, I get it, and I've explained this in my other video, like taking on 3 foster kids at once is a lot, like, and that's a big reason why I made the decision I did when I was about 14 to separate from my brothers, because I was sick of getting moved around. I was sick of them getting moved around. I was sick of this responsibility over my brothers, like as their mom and everything. Like, it was just too much for me. So as I explained in my other foster care video, I mean, my theory as to what happened was, you know, obviously, yeah, it's overwhelming to have 3 kids in your placement. I get that. I don't fault her for that. And yeah, I think she probably did the best she could. But it's still just kind of like, you know, you ask someone to open up to you and you threaten them with moving, and so they comply, and you just screw them over. Like, I was totally screwed over by her, I feel. And even to this day, like, I still feel like I'm being screwed over by this person. So I think once Amanda came back, Amanda just fit into her like ideal family. Like, she wanted to save this girl, and that just really like hurts me to the core, because like I said, I was over here doing everything right. I was the perfect kid. I was the perfect foster kid. I did everything she said. I watched the kids, cleaned the house all day long. Anything she said, I did it, because I didn't want to get moved. And at the end of the day, I still got moved. It was still not enough. And does that hurt? Yeah. Does it still hurt even to this day? Yeah, because I want redemption for that girl. Like, I want redemption for me as a 12, 13-year-old girl who did everything right, who did everything she could, yet was still at the mercy of these people who just didn't seem to really care about what was best for me. And, you know, what was best for me was staying. Like, I should not have been moved around. I shouldn't have had to make that decision to separate from my brothers. I did everything that I could. So it's hard not to take it personally, but at the end of the day, I have to learn and realize, and of course I do realize, that it's not me, it's her. People just have their flaws, and at the end of the day, it's her loss, because I think I'm a pretty amazing person. Like, I was an asset to her life. Like, I didn't run away, I didn't like drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't like hang out with boys, and like, I was a really good kid. And at the end of the day, I was like, where did that get me? What was the point? So fast forward to a couple years later, I was about 17, and I hadn't spoken to Tracy, hadn't talked to her, and I was downtown at like a downtown building somewhere, and I had ran into her, and she was just like, hey, and all she said to me was, did you know Danny died? Which was her husband. And I was like, no, I didn't know. And she's like, yeah, he died. And then that was basically like the extent of our conversation. And I was like, okay, well, bye. Like, and like, I'm such a forgiving person. Like, as time goes on, like, I was excited to see her, and I was excited for her to see me, and like, you know, see that I was still doing good and I'd grown up, and yeah, things were going good for me. I wanted to like talk to her and be like, you know, how are you doing? What's up? Like, how's the kids? But it was very like short and like abrupt. I don't know. I think maybe she was uncomfortable. I'm not really sure. But I just brushed it off, you know, I was just kind of like, maybe she was in a hurry, whatever. So fast forward to another couple years, to a couple months ago, when I found her on Facebook and I added her, and she messaged me, and she was telling me, and you know, it was short, she was just telling me like, oh, you're so pretty, and did you know Danny committed suicide, and I left him back in 2009 and he killed himself after that. So I was just like, wow. You know, like, why do I keep having this like interaction with you where you're just like telling me he died and then I don't really hear from you, you know? And I told her, I was like, well, you can come to my graduation, I'd love to see you, and no hard, you know, like, I didn't say no hard feelings, but I mean, I don't have any ill feelings towards her, at least I didn't at this point, you know? I was just like, you know, I let the past be the past, I don't care. But she just left it at that, like, again, like, just telling me basically that Danny had died and like didn't say anything else to me. And so I messaged her and was like, you know, you keep, like, every time I run into you, you keep telling me Danny died, and then like leaving it at that and not saying anything else to me. And, you know, I'd like to know, like, how you're doing, how your girls are doing, everything. And she saw the message and just ignored me, like, didn't say anything. So I'm just like, what is up? Like, I just feel like it's just shitty of her to not have enough respect for me to just, like, say, yeah, we're doing good, everything's good, like, I don't know, it's weird. And then the other weird thing is I found Amanda on her Facebook, through her Facebook, and I added her as a friend, and I know she knows who I am, and she didn't accept my friend request, which is just like, I don't care, who cares? Like, these people aren't a part of my life, they've not been a part of my life for years, like, I don't need them, I don't care. But it's like, what is this conspiracy with you guys? It's just like all very like bizarre to me, it's very strange. I don't really know like what the situation is, like, and I don't really necessarily care to talk to her. Like, I don't want someone who's shitty like that in my life. And I know that I'm the better person, and I just am like, you know, you really missed out on like a really good kid, and like, why you don't want to be a part of my life is just like bizarre to me. Not that I really want you to be a part of my life anyway, I was just asking you like how you've been all these years, like something other than Danny died. Like, hello, like, there's more to life than that, like, okay. So basically, like, I've had kind of a couple issues with some other people in my life just like blowing me off, kind of, and people that I thought were like close to me and people who were supposed to like be there for me and stuff, and it's just shitty. And when you already kind of have this mentality of like you're an orphan and you're abandoned and like no one wants you and no one wants you there, it kind of plays into your psyche a little bit of like, what is wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with me that people like just blow me off, you know? But again, and this is a message to anybody out there who feels the same, it's not about you, it's about them. Like, they're just shitty people. There's shitty people out there, and I feel like that's more often than not the case. Like, I think it's very rare that you can kind of encounter people who are genuinely good people, and I've been lucky to have found those people. And I feel shitty here sitting here saying like, I feel like I don't have anyone. I feel like people have kind of just like left me high and dry, when there are people out there. Yeah, there are people out there who want to see me succeed and want to be there for me. But then there are these other people who have done things to me and continue to kind of do things to me that hurt and are just kind of like confusing. And like I said before, I'm such a forgiving person that even like in a couple years, if she were to get a hold of me, or really anybody that I've had qualms with, I would still just be like, okay, yeah, hey, like, how are you doing? Like, with time, it's just like, who cares? Like, life is short, tomorrow is never promised. Like, why are we, like, what is this weirdness? So to me, it just makes me really sad that, like, my 13-year-old self, this good girl, like, trying to, like, make her way through foster care, got, like, dicked over so bad by this person. Like, and the fact that she doesn't even have, like, the decency to just tell me, like, how she's been. Like, what do you think's gonna happen? That I'm gonna come, like, track you down and want to go live with you? And, like, you know, you really couldn't just, like, have told me that, yeah, you guys are doing good, something. Like, I used to watch her kids day in and day out. Like, I just think that's messed up, and I think it's rude, and I think it just reflects on the type of person that she is. And she's a shitty person, a shitty ass motherfucking person is what she is. And unfortunately, I had to deal with that, and I had to live with that, and I had to get hurt by that. And it's okay, because, and I want to say this to any of you watching, like, if you're foster kids, if you've been hurt by someone, it's okay, because you take that and you make that into something. That's, like, the beauty of it. Like, I feel like almost in a way I deserved to get hurt like that, because it has made me into a person that can understand that and have compassion for that in someone else. And in working with other foster kids and foster youths, I'm able to identify that and understand these kids on a level that no one else really can. Like, to me, I look at it as an asset to have been screwed over by people and to, like, rise above it. And, like, I'm pretty sure I had explained that in my previous foster care videos, that in a way, like, I really look at being in foster care and having, like, the shitty life experiences I've had as an asset, and as a way to realize that people are jerks and people are just crappy sometimes. You know, don't put your trust in other people, put your trust in you, and be the best person you can be. Like, take all the shitty things people have done to you and turn it around and make it into something. Because just imagine if your life just was perfect and you never had anything wrong. And, like, I see people like that all the time, like people who have been spoiled their whole lives and are just really immature and stupid and don't know how to live life. They don't know how to, like, live life with compassion. They don't see life in the way that we do, and the way people who've been hurt in the worst possible ways. Like, so another thing I just wanted to kind of, like, mention, and I was just gonna make another video on it, but I don't even think it's enough to make a video. But I keep getting all these comments on my foster care video about, like, foster care and religion and going to church and all that stuff. And I talk about how, like, I'm not really religious and all that, but it's just, like, God and my position with God is very personal, and being in foster care just sucks in the way that you have to go along with what everybody says. And I've often encountered a lot of people who say they're Christian and say they're into God, but they do the most horrible things. And they say that they're Christian just to cover up the fact that they're horrible people. And that's what I don't like. And I've encountered that more often than not. People who use Christianity as, like, a guise, and it's dangerous. Like, and it's dangerous for these foster kids, I feel. Like, yeah, you may go to church, but that doesn't mean you're a good person. And that's all I wanted to say. And I think people, like, misconstrue what I said in that video as far as, like, religion goes. And I'm just trying to tell you that, like, what you fill a kid's head with impacts them for life. And so it's just, like, a tricky road. Yeah, you shouldn't leave a kid home by themselves, whatever, but I just think people need to realize that, like, these kids are put through so much. They're put through so much, and they're just forced into everything. Like, they're literally slaves. That's what a ward of the state means. That's literally what it means. You are owned by the state. You're owned by someone. And so when it comes to religion and going to church, it's just another one of those reminders that you are not allowed to just, like, think for yourself. And yeah, a lot of people say, like, I want them to know God, and that's fine, that's great. Like, I just think religion's so personal, and it's just such a personal thing that it's just tricky. It's a tricky gray area. Yeah, I think you should, of course, take your kids to church with you, but just think of all the things that kid has had to go through and see, and just all the warped shit they see. And I feel like I said, it's a tricky thing to talk about, but, like, people who consider themselves Christian, can be bad people, is all I'm trying to say. And I'll just leave it at that. Like, no, I'm not necessarily a religious person, but yeah, I have a relationship with God, and that's personal, and I don't think that that's something someone should force on you. Especially when you're a foster, like, when you're a foster kid, basically everything's forced upon you. You have no control over anything. And so just think about that. Like, this person growing up having to deal with the fact that they weren't allowed to just develop their own kind of like set of morals and identity. And also, I don't think you have to go to church to learn morals. That's what everybody keeps saying, like, you have to go to church to learn morals, learn the value of life. And I don't think that's true. I think you can be a good person regardless. And again, just because you're Christian doesn't mean that you're a good person. Good people come from all different backgrounds. There's atheists who are good people. So I don't really get why people are so closed off to the fact that, like, forcing kids to go to church is, like, not necessarily, like, the best thing to do. So I think with all that said, I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, I have a whole host of videos that I'd still like to make dedicated to this topic. I want to talk about it more. I think it's like a sign from God even that I need to do this. Like, I need to talk about it. I need to get it out there. I need for people to hear it. And so I hope this reaches you. I hope it finds you, especially if you're, one of these foster kids who just, like, you don't know where to turn. Like, it's the most lonely place in life. Like, and it's the worst because you have no control over anything that goes on in your life. And I get that. I totally get that. And I want to say to you guys that, yes, you can make it out of it. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, and I had those days where I sat in my bed and I couldn't move because I just felt my life was so out of my hands and I had no choices at all, and I didn't know what to do, and I was so sad. But trust me, you have to make a plan for yourself. You have to promise yourself that you're gonna get out of it and you're gonna get through it. That's what I did for myself. Even in the darkest times, I knew that it was up to me to get out of it, and it happened. Yes, the things that happened to me still hurt, of course, but again, and the reason I made this video is because you have to take those things and turn them around, and that's your redemption in life. Things will turn around, but you have to make that choice. Don't choose to let the things that happen to you that are out of your control to define you. Be the strong, amazing person you are, and make a goal and make a promise to yourself that you're gonna get out of this and you're gonna turn your life around. Because I'm living proof of that. Like, I made that promise to myself all that time ago. Like, I'm not gonna let these people take my life from me. Even though it feels like that, even though it's so hard, even to this day it's so hard to deal with, but it's getting better. And once you're an adult, once you're 18, you can do whatever you want, and that's the beauty of it. Like, you don't have to see or talk to any of these people ever again. So make that commitment to yourself that your life will be better and it will be everything that you want it to be someday, despite all these terrible things happening to you. I did it, I'm here, I'm stronger because of it, and I'm actually proud of the fact that I had to go through all of these things so I could sit here today and talk to you about it and let you know that it's possible to get through it. It really, really is possible. So yeah, this is my video to my 13-year-old self who needed redemption and who really is the reason I'm here today, because she fought so hard and diligently, and despite everything, she made it through. So I want to say thank you to her for being so strong all those years ago. Even when I was just a kid, I made it through, and I knew that this was gonna happen someday. I knew it. So that's all I have to say for now. I hope you guys stick around for my next videos. It shouldn't be too long before I come out with some more, because I just have things I want to talk about and share with you guys. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.